Hello and welcome to the Booksplosion Book of the Month live show discussion for February. Today we are going to be talking all about Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. We're so excited for this. To kick things off, maybe we should introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Kat.
I'm Christine.
I'm Jesse. Who's behind you?
Oh, that's Baz.
No.
I thought you were talking to Christine.
I'm confused. Oh my God, it's not there.
I forgot he was right there. That's Tyrannus Basilton Grimpitch. He is our special guest star today. So we're going to be taking questions and comments in the chat and on Twitter if you have anything you want to send to us there. Do we want to do a bunch of announcements first? Shall we announce?
Real quick.
Okay. Let's start off with announcing our March book of the month. Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is coming out on Tuesday. It is the first book in Cassandra Clare's newest Shadowhunters trilogy. You don't have to read the other series to read this one, but I strongly recommend at least reading The Infernal Devices.
I think you should read The Infernal Devices.
I mean, this follows children of the characters in the first book, so at the very least, you will be spoiled about who ends up having children together. So, but yeah, we'll be reading this in the month of March, and our live show is the 28th of March. Okay? That sounds right.
Yes. Also, I want to apologize because I have a typo in the description. I called it Iron Gold. So.
Hey,
that's Pierce Brown's book.
Yeah. And also, Jesse, I feel like you've had a typo in the description for like
every live show we've got so far this year, at least.
It's okay. Anyways.
Okay, thanks for doing the description at all.
Yeah. Chain of Gold, March book of the month. Another quick little announcement is that we are all going to be at BookCon. Another year of BookCon. We're all really excited because we love BookCon. And in the next week and a half or so here, a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing some exciting giveaways on our social medias. So follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We're going to be giving away 2 tickets to BookCon on Instagram, 2 on Twitter, and we're going to be giving away 2 more tickets during our Dear Booksplosion live show this month. So 3 opportunities to win a pair of tickets to BookCon. Those posts will be going up in the next week, so just keep an eye out for that. And during our Dear Booksplosion live show, we're going to be giving away the last pair of 2 tickets to someone who is watching our Dear Booksplosion live show. So you do want to be there to win that one. But Twitter and Instagram are going to run for a week, and you can just enter whenever for those. But yeah, we'll be sharing all that in the next week or so. All right.
Wayward Son.
I think that's it for announcements. Yeah, let's talk Wayward Son. Y'all, I'm so excited. I've been wanting to talk about this book with people for a very long time, so this is great. Let's kick things off with non-spoilery feels. Who wants to start us off?
I'll start. Oh.
Okay. Christine.
Teacher.
I'm up first, so it's to Christine.
I loved Wayward Son, and I just feel like I haven't heard enough of people talking about how much they love this book, because it was so good from start to finish. I was like in love with everything, and like the new expansion of the world is fascinating. And it really separated itself in my mind from Harry Potter. Like that was my issue with Carry On. Like I was just it was too similar because we were in like a boarding school and it was in England. It was just like very intertwined with my Harry Potter lore, and I was like, oh, this is this, but this was like its own thing. And I loved being in America and seeing like how different it is from their culture in England, and watching them have to stumble and figure that out and learn new things. And I just loved it. I love all the characters. Like the dialogue was perfect. I loved Rainbow Rowell. I love Rainbow Rowell, and it's been so long since I read one of her books. I didn't know how much I missed it until now.
Yeah, this is her first book in like 4, almost 5 years. Carry On was her last novel. She's been working on Runaways and like stuff like that. So yeah, it was very exciting. Jesse, what were your thoughts?
I have very similar feelings. Like, I love this book so much. I was nervous going in because it had been so long since I had read Carry On. I was like nervous if I would be able to like kind of settle myself into it, but like I hopped into it and I was like, I read this, I started last night and finished it today. Like, it was such a fast read. I fell in love again with the characters. Like, the banter between all of them is just so amazing. Like, I could just read it for days. Like, I love it so much. And while there are like some moments that are like sad, for the most part, it's like this like fun. It had this like fun, lighthearted feeling to it, and it kind of felt like contemporary at times, even though there are those like magical bits. But I really loved it.
It is like contemporary.
Yeah, and I loved the road trip aspect of it. That was like one of my favorite parts of the book. It was just so much fun being on this like crazy adventure with them, and yeah, I loved it. So good. I think I liked it more than Carry On, actually.
Oh, I did too. Yeah.
Big statement, but I'm just saying, I liked it more than Carry On, I think, so.
I liked it more than Carry On too. I just feel like it really separates itself from everything that people compared Carry On to. You know, like it's just its own.
Kat, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about us saying?
I didn't like it more than Carry On. But Carry On, my favorite book of all time, so like I loved this book. This was the I'm gonna say fourth time I read it, because I read the physical copy twice, and then I read the physical copy like 1.5 times and listened to the audiobook, and then I listened to the audiobook again for this live show. But yeah, here's the thing. The first time I read it, it hadn't been announced that there was a third book yet. So I finished this book, and there was no announcement of a third book.
There had to be a third book, though.
Of course, there had to be a third book. I mean, I was convinced that we were getting a third book at BookCon last year when I was moderating Rainbow's panel. I was like telling people on the fly, like, I think Rainbow is going to announce that this is a trilogy, and she didn't. And she didn't announce it was a trilogy until this had been out for 2 weeks, and I was suffering. But yeah, I adored it. The first time I read it, I was so anxious and stressed out because I had such high expectations for this book, and I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know where it was going. I read it the day it came out, so like I heard nothing about it, and I was so stressed. So like my first reading experience was not the most fun because I was just like so anxious the entire time. But
that was like me with Queen of Air and Darkness.
Right. But upon like subsequent rereads, I like once I knew what was coming, like I was just felt so much better. I could enjoy every moment. This book is so freaking hilarious. Like there are so many lines that had me laughing out loud, and even parts that like I didn't notice upon first read, but like situations that are so freaking funny that like you kind of like they could be just a line thrown in that is hilarious, and you don't realize it until like you can like settle with it. So yeah, I adored this, and I'm excited to talk spoilery things now.
Yeah,
so let's talk spoilers.
Before you go into spoilers, I just want to say, like you were saying with your like stress reading and versus I was like, this was like my treat. It was like my chocolate at the end of the day. So I wasn't stress reading at all. And like sometimes you could read 1 chapter a day and like not get into it at all. But like with this book, it was like 1 chapter a day. I was so excited. I was like eating it up and laughing. And it was never like, oh, I'm not reading this all at once, so I can't really enjoy it. Every bit of it is so enjoyable, whether you like devour it in bite-sized pieces or at once, which is such a special thing.
Yeah, totally.
So, spoilers.
Okay, spoilers. So I have a question. So, I mean, for both of you, but
yeah,
for Christine, because she's the one who says that it was just like a treat. You weren't stressed out at all for Simon and like the open with Simon being like, I'm going to break up with Baz, and their relationship is so tenuous the entire time. Like, you weren't stressed.
I knew that they weren't going to break up.
But the thing, like, even if you know that, that's what got me, is because, like, part of me was like, oh, they're not going to break up. But the thing is, like, the situation that their relationship was in wasn't a situation where it was easy. You know, Simon is struggling so much with depression, and it was never a question of like, oh, they don't love each other. Like, that was never a question, but it was a question of like, can their relationship survive something that is so taxing?
Well, the thing is, the second we were going on this road trip, I was like, it doesn't matter if they even break up, they're going to get back together because they're on a road trip together. Like, they're in a compact situation where it's like you force these two characters to interact, and it's so much fun whether or not they're broken up because they're going to get back together. Like, it's the perfect storm of relationship almost. Like, so I was so solid with that. I'm like, literally, it only takes a couple chapters for us to realize, like, they're going to be fine. They'll get there. Like,
it's easier for me to pick up on that upon subsequent rereads, but the first time I read it, yeah, Jesse, did you feel stressed at all while reading it?
I wasn't really stressed about their relationship, and I think too, like, my thought process is like, if they were to break up, it would be because Simon needs to like work on himself a little bit and then come back to the relationship and like make it stronger. So like, I wasn't too worried. And also, like, I agree with Christine. I'm like, they're on a road trip together. So even if they are like broken up, they're still going to have like little moments together on this road trip. So
yeah. It's not like New Moon where they're just like separated and there's no interaction. And you're like, oh my God, how could you do this to me? Okay, I have a question for you guys because I did not see the vampire thing coming with Now Next.
Really?
I felt so dumb afterward. Maybe this is because I was doing it one night at a time, you know, like I was just like, how did I not think of that? Because I was wondering, I was like, what is going on? Like, these are just like sketchy characters with these really rich entitled people. Like, do they like lure people to their hotel and like their house and like lock them in and like do terrible things to them? Like, and then when they said it, I was like, oh my God. And I was obsessed with it. Like, Baz was like, what? I was like, what? Like, even when they said they were vampires, I didn't realize like it was another whole level when they said that they were trying to like become, you know, harness magic. I was like, oh no.
I mean, I kind of saw it coming just because like I knew that Agatha's storyline was going to come into play somehow. Like, I don't know. I guess I kind of saw it coming. I read the book in one sitting the night it came out, so I didn't have a lot of time to like predict or like work things.
Yeah. What about you, Jesse? You read it really fast too.
And the situation for me was like I was just reading because I had to get through it. So like I kind of just like picked up on it eventually. So.
Yeah, I loved like all the lore with the vampires. I think it's so interesting, and I really loved how it made so much sense. Like I love how she just like really grounded vampires being in Vegas because like yes, that is a place where they could flourish. Like,
yeah. Especially I loved. Christine, you mentioned this earlier, how the world building was kind of, it wasn't that it was expanded necessarily, it's that we went deeper into it. Like a lot of the stuff is established in book one, but like, I feel like especially the magic system about how it works with like the speaking and like you need human populations and stuff, like that was so fascinating and just such, I thought like the perfect exploration of the magic system. Because I already loved the magic system, so I was like, oh, it's based on words and language and like, how people using it a lot kind of like gives it power and they can tap into that power.
Yes.
And we just got to see that like so much deeper in this book. And I loved that. Like I loved how there's like commentary about like, you can like cast a song, but like they're kind of unstable, or like you can probably cast memes and stuff. Like it's just so much fun.
Yeah, you know, I didn't love it so much in the first book because I was still too hooked in
Harry Potter. Yeah.
And I really love how we got to explore, because when Baz was using these spells and they weren't working, I was like, immediately, I was like, it's because you're in America and we don't fucking say that shit. I mean, all the cursing, sorry. Yeah, and then like Penelope was like, you're saying like British things, like the most British. It was really funny after that when he kept trying to say different spells and they were all so British. I was like, sod off. Like, no. And that was really fun, and the quiet zones were really scary and fascinating. And I love that it came back around that Agatha wanted to go to Burning Man, and then like, all those people were there because it was the same weekend. It was great.
Yeah, I loved how that all came together because the whole time she's like, "I was supposed to be at a festival this weekend." Festival comes to her.
I put feathers in my bikini. I got neon paint. Like,
it's gonna be ridiculous and awesome.
I loved Agatha's line in here because it was like, again, I just really had fun with her because I didn't see where this was going. And I was like, Agatha's just at this cult. Like, I don't know what's happening. And then like Brayden started hitting on her, and I was like, this is weird, but like, sure, let her have some fun. It was like nice to see her kind of happier almost, you know, just for a second.
So madness.
What I really liked about this book is that you know, Carry On is kind of framed as like, you know, they've known each other. They've been going to school for 6 years. It's like the 6th book in the series. And like this book kind of gave me such a good like visual or like inspiration for like what those other years were like for them, with like their crazy adventures, and like Agatha always ends up getting kidnapped and Penelope and Simon have to like half-ass a plan and just like wing it through this. And I was like, oh, this is what the last 6 years of their lives have been like that's chaos.
You know, it was so funny. They had this back and forth specifically, like, I don't know, when Simon was like being jealous and annoying and like, and something came up about like killing a dragon, and he's like, only crazy people kill dragons, and he was like, I killed it by accident. It was an accident. That was really fun. And just like they had so much fun banter, and like when it went into the magical world, it was even funnier because they were saying it so casually, like yeah. And seeing the point of view changes were like very comedic in this book. I loved them. And we'd see from like, you know, Simon's point of view about something, and then see Baz's point of view like rewound like a couple minutes, and it would be excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How did you feel about this starting out with like a epilogue and then like ending with the prologue? How did you feel about that?
Well, I have some feelings because when I first started reading this book, I think I got it on ebook because I needed to read it like at midnight and my copy wasn't going to come until later. So I started to read this ebook, and it starts with the epilogue, and my immediate thought was, oh my God, my ebook is messed up. This is the epilogue of the book, and I just wrote it myself. I was like, oh my God, no. And it took me like a couple minutes. Like I read the entire epilogue, and I was like, it starts with like the theater goes dark, the pages go blank, Simon Snow is over, and I just at the end of this book where Simon dies, which wasn't the case.
Wait,
but
when did this epilogue take place? I forgot this even happened.
At the beginning.
Yeah, this is the epilogue.
Like, are they talking about when he gets shot?
No, this is the epilogue that takes place. It's the epilogue to book 1.
Yeah.
Oh, see that? Oh, that is what I thought. And I thought the prologue was for next book.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't get that until the very end though. Like I thought.
Oh, okay. I just figured that because it sounded like it. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So the epilogue is like the epilogue to book 1, even though we already got like so many great epilogues in book 1. And then the prologue at the end. The prologue at the end is like the prologue to the 3rd book. Like this is just, it's framed very much as a middle book, which I think it's hard to say without book 3 coming out, but I feel like this is the best middle book in a series that I might have read.
Middle, yeah.
Really good middle book because it really has that emotional bridge of like all the characters recovering from what happened, but also like setting up for the next phase. So yeah, I mean, I'm very, very excited for book 3.
Yeah,
really? Could have never guessed that.
I feel like, so it's really interesting this as a middle book because it's not really a middle book. So in terms of like their epic, you know, it's this bridge of what happens after the epic ends.
Yeah.
And that's what's really interesting and cool about it, because like, it's like after book 7, when everything's done, like what the heck happens then? Like, and it's showing, and I really like Baz talking about it in the beginning. It's like, you don't want to know what happens after the happily ever after, because crap happens. Like, life isn't all happy. So there's gonna be more conflict, and it's not all gonna resolve itself magically at the end of the big conclusion.
Yeah.
That's what really made it very fascinating to like see the dynamic and how everyone has changed and what's happening right now. And it's really cool. I love what she's doing with this. I don't think it's my favorite second book ever, but I think it's a really interesting, different, unique second book, because it kind of was like, where is she gonna go from here?
It's such an interesting exploration of like what happens to the chosen one after they've fulfilled their purpose.
Yes.
And like, especially Simon, who has had such a shitty life, like been in like orphanages and homes and stuff because his jackass father abandoned him. And he's just been trained to be the chosen one. Like, he's just like so like programmed, and like the mage sent him off to fight something, he goes and does it. And like, that's his purpose, that's his whole thing in life. And like, now he doesn't have that anymore. And like, it makes sense that he would like fall into this depression that he's in, because he doesn't know what to do with himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a really interesting exploration of that. But we got enough like hints and little things of like, I feel like something really big is going to happen in the third book. Especially there was that one moment where they're like meeting the like water deity, the one who's like at the dam. And that like magical creature was like, you took it, but you gave more back. And it was like kind of implying like his story's not done. Like something else is going to happen with like his whole like magic chosen one, like how he got his magic and lost it and gave it up. Like, something's going to happen there, and I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, it almost sounds like when she said that, like he took everything, but he still had a lot himself already. So he gave that. He
gave up all his own, but like, can he get it back?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see.
Yeah. How fun was the Ren Fair, guys? I love that fight scene with all the vampires. I was like, wait, those are actual vampires.
See, this book was just so much fun in so many different ways, and like so hilarious. One of my favorite lines in this book, I mean, I have so many, but they first get to the Ren Fair, and the person is like giving them discounts if they're in costume, and so like they give Simon a discount because he has his wings out, and then to Baz they're like, you get a discount too, and he's like, this is a nice shirt. I just love that so much. It's so funny.
I love when toward the end, Simon's like, Baz is wearing the most ridiculous flowered suit. And like, we've all seen that flowered suit for like so long before the book even came out. So it was so cool for it to come up in there and be like, hey.
I love the lines that Rainbow shared early on Twitter. When people were like, give us anything from Wayward Son, give us anything, give us kernels of Wayward Son. And she shared that line. So like, that line has been circulating for a while.
Oh, I don't see anything.
Like, Baz is wearing, I swear to Merlin, a floral print suit, a full-length floral print. It's great.
You know, I also really loved how like they did the Amazing Grace and it didn't work. And then like he turns around and the suitcase hits him.
I love it, especially because he's like, I just want a suitcase, and then like the empty suitcase like knocks him out,
and it's empty.
I love that. I love how all their items are like flying back to them in all various. Like, that was so fun. Like, Baz walked out the door and like his pants and like a bunch of socks like hit him. It was just like, oh, thank God, fresh clothes.
His like hands are full of new clothes, and like his mom's scarf goes by. He just drops them all. I love that Simon grabbed the scarf at the end. Yeah.
What do you guys think of Shepard?
I love Shepard. He's so fun.
It was kind of fun. He's like a magic fanboy, and it was like nice having him on the road trip because he's like, oh, I love magic and all this stuff, and he's like done all this research and stuff, and it was like just fun to like have him as a part of the crew. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, he's got himself into some shit with magic because he's just going for it whenever, wherever, with whatever. Like, I can't believe you summoned a demon. What you doing, boy?
Yeah, I love Shepard. I think he's a fantastic character. One of the elements of the book that I would not have guessed at all, because I kind of assumed like, oh, we're gonna get Micah. Micah is gonna be our fourth who travels with us. And then like Penelope and Micah immediately break up.
Well, like apparently they've been broken up and Bear's
6 months or something.
And, like, Shepard is so great. Okay, here's the thing that makes me ship Shepard and Penny a whole lot.
I'm shipping them so hard.
I'm shipping them so hard, but there's one specific thing, and it's that when Micah broke up with Penelope, he like told her, he's like, "You're a tornado," and then we find out that Shepard used to
tornado chaser.
I love it.
I love how she's like, to what end though? And he's like, just to chase it. She's like, that seems dangerous and stupid.
Yeah, we can explain that to Penny though. Like that's Penny's whole attitude. Like Penny loves that shit.
I love when they're by themselves, and I love how like each character is like, that Shepard kid is just drowning his food in ketchup every other second.
It's a great addition.
Computer froze. There we go. Am I lagging?
I think you are a little bit.
You must be, because you're, yeah.
Oh my God. My computer's not charging. My computer's doing this thing where it only charges from certain holes. It won't charge from the other one.
Mine has that same.
It does?
Yeah. It's weird.
Okay. Well, this is lagging. I'm going to go to my other computer.
Okay.
Okay, so Jesse,
the pressure's on.
pressure's on. What was your favorite encounter throughout the book? You know, we have a lot of various monster encounters. Do you have a favorite one?
Well, does the vampire encounter at the Renaissance Fair count as a
Yeah,
monster?
that's an encounter. That counts.
It was just, like, so epic and unexpected, and I was actually like, I was kind of thinking like, are these actual vampires or are they cosplaying and they don't realize it as they were like going after them? But then, like, thankfully, they were real vampires.
That would have taken the story in a very different direction.
What was your favorite encounter?
Oh, it's hard. I really like the Ren Fair as well. We're talking about our favorite encounters, Christine.
Cool.
Yeah, I really liked the Ren Fair. I like the one where they met the dragon lady. Maggie, is that her name?
Right, yeah, it's Maggie.
Where she was like the dragon in the mountain.
Yeah.
And because that's when Shepard like rejoined them and like proved his worth yet again, where he was like getting them out of trouble again. I liked that encounter as well. I don't know. They were all really fun.
Wait, were you like suspicious of Shepard at all? Like about his like motives and stuff of like being a part of the
I was suspicious of Lamb.
I was like, can we really trust you or not? Even though like he kept proving himself, I was like, something's off. But then like by the end of it, obviously, I was like, okay.
I was a little suspicious until he got his first point of view chapter. And then I was like, oh, he's one of the gang. All right, he's cool.
I was suspicious for like half a second, but he seemed like just like a kid when he walked out of his truck. So like it didn't like once he started explaining himself a little bit, I was like, okay, I can see this happening. Like if you see magic and you become obsessed with it, like this is what you would do. But
like, it was such an interesting situation because like Simon, Baz, and Penny, like their paranoia and suspicion was like totally valid for like this situation where like, can we trust him? But it's also like Shepard was very understandable and like, yeah, he discovered magic was real and he's like really curious and he just wants to know everything and like learn it and like immerse himself in this world. So
yeah, in a way, he's like the us in the story. Like, yeah, they put the reader in a little bit. But somebody said Favorite line, fighting doesn't feel good anymore. It feels like breaking something you don't know how to fix because you don't know how to fix it. That was a really good line. I read that today. What were we just talking about? Oh, favorite bits. I really loved when Baz came back drunk and they summoned all of the birds.
Oh yeah.
And Penny was just like hiding under the covers. It was really fun. Ooh, and you know what I also loved? When Agatha at the end saved the day with the fire, I was like, yes, bitch!
Yeah, that was fantastic. I love that, like, we got the little hint of that happening earlier where she's like, I can cast this really simple little spell without my wand under my breath. And then, like, to see it come back and save the day was like so like yes. Also, especially coming from Agatha, who's been like relegated as like, oh, side character, damsel in distress. Like for her to be the badass one was like setting everyone on fire and like it like unsealed their mouths, like so they were like bleeding, and so I was just epic.
Oh my god, I just realized another thing that was just brilliant, that just like that the specific thing she was going to was Burning Man, and then they burnt everyone on fire. There were lots of burning men. How brilliant was that? Yeah, I feel like she just really redeemed herself, to me at least, as like a human. Because like she was like not my favorite character in the other books. She was kind of like, because I don't know. She just seemed like she was always in a mood, but it was because she was not happy.
Yeah.
What you guys Go ahead.
Sorry. I almost thought that Agatha was going to end up being a lesbian because
Peter
talks about her friend. She kind of talks about her in a way that's like more of like a more romantic sense, I guess you could say.
I mean, I
thought about that in the beginning too.
I kind of saw it more as like aromantic or asexual. Were like more the vibes that I got from her, because she did seem just kind of like disinterested in relationships in general, and like she had kind of like fallen into the relationship with Simon because she felt like it was what she was supposed to do. So like, that's kind of the vibe I got. But I also did kind of see like it felt like there might have been a little attraction between her and there.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that because it was so long ago. That it was like in the beginning of the book. But what I was just gonna say is, I loved hearing her describe Simon as like, what did she call him? Like a needy puppy with self-esteem issues that was always trying to like destroy the world or something. I don't even remember, but it was very funny.
That reminds me, I love that Simon called himself a basexual.
Yeah.
So good.
I liked that little bit where we still got Simon kind of questioning his sexuality. He's like, I'm not sure if I'm gay. Like, I'm not mad about all these boobs at the Red Fair. But like, I like that there's a bit of a questioning. Like, he wasn't like settling for a label or anything. Like, he's still figuring himself out. 20 years old.
Yeah.
I forgot about all the boob talk at the Red Fair. Like, each point of view was like, there's boobs everywhere. I've never seen so many boobs.
Somebody's talking about the Cheesecake Factory scene and how.
Oh yeah, Cheesecake Factory. That was really
so familiar.
I'm talking about. Yeah, I love you. That yeah, talking about them. I love imagine the humiliation of dying at the Cheesecake Factory. Fantastic. I also love the line where like Baz is comforting Penny. Like Penny starts crying. Like Baz is next to her, and Simon is watching this, and he's just like, I love him so much. Like I want to tell him. I haven't told him. I should tell him. Now isn't the time, but I love him so much. I'm just like, oh, babies.
I'm a little bummed that at the end they didn't get to say it. It was just like Penny ran out, and I was like, not again.
It'll happen in the next book.
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, we know that they love each other. Baz straight up told us in his first point of view chapter of book 1 that he's been like helplessly in love with Simon for a year.
That communication thing, like just say it.
But this is a communication plot that I don't mind because it feels so real. It's not like we're not communicating and because we could solve all our problems that way. It's like it's a very real sort of, we don't know how to talk to each other because we don't understand our own feelings and we don't know how to articulate them, and like it's very real.
Spent, like, however long avoiding each other when they lived together originally. Like they used to avoid each other nonstop, so it's like hard for them to contact with each other still. So.
And especially like Simon is so depressed, he just spends his days like drinking and watching reality TV while like while Baz and Penny go to school and study a lot, which is what they do.
Oh my God, we didn't talk about the airplane scene.
I love the airplane scene too.
That was so fun.
The whole book was just there's so much fun banter between all of them all the time.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of the dialogue, but just remember thinking it was so funny.
Because they were arguing about like who's gonna save who if the plane crashes. Simon, you have wings, you can fly us. It's like I can only fly one person. Like who's gonna save the rest of it?
And like Baz was like the whole time he was like concentrating just in case the plane fell.
Yeah, and then Simon like that's like I have to save my magic, like in case I have to float like a butterfly in the entire plane. I love it. I love it so much. Let's talk about Lamb and the vampires and the different opposing vampires. So we have like the Vegas old school vampires, and then we have the Next Blood, Next Blood. So yeah, I loved exploring more vampire mythology in this book. Like we really got a lot of juicy vampire material, and I love Baz learning more about himself in that way, because like he doesn't know anything. Like no one ever taught him this stuff. He doesn't know. Like he thinks that like if he bites someone, they automatically are going to die or turn, and like it's kind of like that's not the case.
Can I clarify with you for a second? So like, did we learn this in the first one? Like, are you instantly poisoned, or do you have to be drained completely? Like, what is it?
We don't know. Baz doesn't know. So like, nope.
Why the hell didn't he ask immediately when he was like, oh yeah, we just take a sip sometimes? And it's like, and he just assumed that they all get turned, but he said that they don't like to turn people. So I would have been like, excuse me, what exactly do they have to turn? Was there more to me being turned? But then he said that his brother like was just trying to kill him, and then he turned after because he killed him, you know, before he could kill him. You know what I'm saying? The brother killed Lamb. Okay, Lamb's brother got turned, and then he killed their parents, Lamb's brother, and then he was trying to kill Lamb, but Lamb staked him before he could actually kill him, his brother. And then Lamb turned.
We don't know the mechanics of how and why they turn. Like we don't.
This is essential. Why hasn't Baz asked?
Who is he gonna ask?
Him. That would be the first question when he tells me that. I'd be like, wait, is there something more to turning than just fighting somebody?
Yeah, I mean, he showed up, but there were so many other things he didn't know. Like, he still has, like, his teeth coming out every time he tries to eat food. And, like, we finally got that moment where it's like, bro, you don't have to live like this. Like, you can... So, yeah, there's still a lot.
No, that's a big deal, man. Ask it.
I don't know, I'm waiting for the...
Oh, we're echoing.
I feel like it's me.
Is it me?
I think it's Jesse.
Oh. Hold on.
Is there still an echo?
Okay, it's not echoing anymore. Okay. So what were we just talking about? The turning thing. Now that was bothering me. I was like, Baz, ask the question. And okay, I did not see that King of the Vampire thing coming. I was just like, oh shit. It makes sense now that you say it, because he's so old and he's been there from the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm just really glad they bonded before you found that out, because then he didn't have to be intimidated.
Yeah.
But I love the ensuing argument from like Penny and Simon.
Yeah, I love the whole thing when they're back in the hotel. Simon was invisible at one point.
That was so funny when he just like popped back. He was like,
get away from my boyfriend.
When he was like, does your invisible friend grow up with you too?
I also like when Shepard's kind of realization that like Simon and Baz were boyfriends, because like he had kind of had the wrong impression, because Penny and Baz like kept crashing on beds together. Like they would like just pass out on the bed together. And so Shepard had kind of different assumptions, and he's like, "Oh, they're dating. Okay."
Yeah, and so did you trust Lamb? Like Lamb felt like he was just caring about Baz and nobody else. So I was like,
I did not trust him, but I did not suspect that he was the king of vampires and was also going to betray them.
It was nice because it kind of felt like he was being a mentor for Baz.
Yeah.
Getting all these like answers to questions that he had, and it was nice. But then it was like he betrayed them. So
yeah, I mean, like he's one of those characters that's now really interesting because he's not all bad. He's just trying to protect his like people because he doesn't want them to go to war. Yeah. But at the same time, it was like that was really cruel, man. I like that he stayed for a second, though. He's like, okay, I guess we're doing this.
See, I don't even... Why would Lamb even make any kind of agreement with the now next people? Like, these pretentious douchebags who are trying to, like, hybridize vampires and mages together. Like, why would he even mess with them at all? Like, he's the king of vampires. Just
there must have been something that threatened him. Like, I don't know. You know, like why?
Part of the deal is if they figure out how to do it, like Lamb.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
That could be something. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants it if they figure it out. But yeah, I like that. Josh instantly died when he bit.
Yeah.
Shepard.
Shepard's just like, bro, you don't want to do that.
There's so many good moments.
Yeah, that's great.
Did you guys have a favorite spell that like stuck out to you that they used?
There was one that I really liked toward the end. Off with your head was fun, but like not the one that I'm thinking of. I should have written down my favorite spell because they're so like common phrase. You start to forget them so easily.
I like when they did Amazing Grace.
Oh, that one was so funny.
That one was fun.
I love that.
That one was more like, it wasn't funny to me, it was cool. I was like, whoa, I didn't know you could do this.
I like the joke.
Oh my god, I love fuck off and die.
That was fun.
I love when Baz gets involved in that fight. It was so badass. He's like, Baz is fighting 26 vampires and I'm going to help.
I just love Baz so much.
Yeah, he was pretty great.
I loved his hate list. That was funny.
Oh my god.
Fantastic moment. That I think that's the like excerpt that Rainbow was reading when she was like doing readings on tour. Like that's the part that she would read. Because I remember her mentioning that like a lot of her tours were like held in like a couple were held in like a church type area, and so she felt real awkward like dropping the F-bombs so many times. Because Baz just has this whole ass rant. Also, Simon's rant about vampires towards the end. He had a really funny rant about vampires that I loved.
He just like kept being like, oh well, he would like say something and then like be like, oh wait, but
I like that though.
Yeah, I love Baz just insulting him that whole time because he kept saying stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And when the vampires are like, you didn't tell us that one of them was rabid or something.
This might be a stupid question, but do you guys think that the third book will be as like lighthearted as this one is?
I think they're all inherently lighthearted when they're Rainbow Rowell. Like there's always comedy in her dialogue and her situations, which is why she's so fun to read.
I think I have a lot of predictions about the third book.
Can you tell us your predictions?
Sure. Well, actually, a lot of them are predictions I had for the second book that didn't come true. But well, I'll talk about my predictions first, and then I'll talk about the thing that I want to rant about. So one of my big predictions is Simon meeting his grandmother and uncle, because Simon has a grandmother and an uncle that he never met and he doesn't know about, because it's like his mom's family. It's like a throwaway line in book 1 about how like Agatha's talking to either her mom or Penny's mom, and she's like, yeah, I know them at the club, like their daughter ran away to America or whatever. So just like piecing together that mystery and like Simon finding his family, I'm very here for that. I'm also really intrigued by, we didn't see them at all in this book, but Nico and Eb, the twins. There's a line in the first book about how they could use each other's magical tools. And then Eb dies, and like what happened to her magic wand? Can Nico now use her magic wand, and he'll be a vampire with magic as well? So I think there's gonna be something that goes on there. Those are the two big ones. Simon got to meet his family, and I want to see if Nico has access to magic again, or like what happens with Nico and Fiona, because like they had a relationship in the past, and like I feel like we might see more of them, because Rainbow did mention that like she would like to explore that relationship and like more of the vampire stuff. So like maybe we'll get a little bit of that. Predictions?
I had one just from like for this book, just because of all the fan art. I saw the Vegas fan art and I instantly was like, oh my God, they're gonna get married. And then so far from what actually happened.
Right.
That would have been a great scene, that Vegas wedding.
It would have been so funny, you know, they could have did like a Monica Chandler where like they're both drunk and they accidentally get married. And they're like, they wake up and they don't even realize, they still think they're in this place where they like don't know where each other is, if they're even like boyfriends.
Accidentally married. I want them to do it on purpose.
Well, then they'd have to do it again on purpose, but it would just be a funny scene. Like it wouldn't actually like count as their wedding.
My other, I mean, not really a prediction, but kind of something that I felt was missing from this book that we need to have in the next book. And that is, we spend so much of this book talking about how our trio is just like creating this path of chaos across America. They're breaking every rule in the world. You're gonna get in trouble. Like the whole book is like, we're dead when we get home. Like we're in so much trouble. And then like they didn't face any consequences for their path of chaos throughout the state.
Well, we haven't even had time to face it, I feel like.
Yeah, that's the reason why we didn't get it in this book. But that was the one thing where like I finished the book and I felt a little unsatisfied, because I was just like, oh, we're building up so much consequence, and then we didn't get the payoff in this book, although we're going back to London in the next book, so like we're definitely gonna get it there. That was my only thing. I was like, they didn't face any consequences in this book.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're instantly going to as soon as we start the next book. But I am so excited to take Shepard to London. He's going to be like a kid in a candy store with all this magic stuff. But I was just going to say something before that. What was it that I really wanted to talk about? Shit, what were you talking about a second ago?
Consequences. Their trail of chaos through America.
I've lost my chain. You guys talk.
Vegas.
Shepard. He's cursed. Penny's gonna save him.
Oh! I loved Penny's realization, like speaking aloud, like thinking aloud. She didn't think aloud, but we getting to hear it, we're thinking, be like, why the hell did I not think to call my mother? Like she would have come out and helped us in an instant when she heard that Agatha was in trouble. Like, she's one of like the most talented witches of her time. Like, just the realization of how dumb they were being, because this is like when you read every Harry Potter book and like these 12-year-olds are like, let me take on the biggest enemy of the wizarding world. And it's like, why don't you tell any adults about anything? And it took them till they were like, you know, they felt like, you know, a small fish in a giant pond, to like really see that they need help. They can't do this by themselves.
Right.
And
it's a very like young adult kind of feel and mentality. Right?
Yeah.
You kind of think you're invincible. You kind of think you can handle anything. And like we know that they've had so many adventures in the past. Like they've always been handling things. The mage has always just been like, yeah, Simon, go take care of it. Like they've been kind of on their own for so long. But like, yeah, it's a very obvious thing where it's like, tell an adult, like tell someone who can help you. They didn't even tell their parents they were going to America. They just went.
I really liked how that was a really subtle theme going through it. Like, you feel when you're younger, your world feels so small, and you take something like this where you're in a new place and you feel like you keep getting knocked down because you don't know what you're doing and you don't know about this place, and you can't just expect that you're going to keep succeeding without help.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool thing that you don't really see much, I feel like, in this type of stories.
Yeah. I mean, it's also interesting because they're all like 20 years old. They're in their early 20s. Like they really are like more like young adults kind of like, I mean, I hate the publishing's YA categories.
No, this
like,
is the Wednesday book category, like the crossover.
Yeah. Which like Books is doing great stuff with that because people want to read about like young adults who are like out of high school and still figuring their shit out. Don't figure shit out until you're in like for most people or later. So like I love that transitional kind of period. And again, I felt like the relationship in this book was handled in a more mature way. Because again, it's not like any like petty miscommunication or petty jealousy kind of thing. It's like they're trying to figure out how to be in a relationship with each other as they're changing and like dealing with depression and like trying to find their place in this world. So like I loved how all that was handled.
Yeah, there was some fun jealousy with Simon.
But it wasn't like.
But like it looked like they went on a date.
Yeah.
And I love how they described him as like a Downton Abbey type. Yeah, it was really, really great. Do we want to talk about next month and all the upcoming dates?
Yeah. So again, our book of the month for March is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. It is the first book in the last hours. It is advised that you read the Infernal Devices before this one. And we will be doing our live show. What's the date again?
The 28th.
28th, yeah, March 28th. It's a Saturday, as per usual. 7 p.m. right here on this channel. We'll be discussing this book. And again, follow all of our social medias for updates. And we have those awesome giveaways happening in the next couple weeks. So keep an eye out for those.
Should we go ahead and announce our April book of the month?
Yeah, I already talked about it in the video.
I don't think I have it. Oh, I do have it here. Do I? Maybe I don't.
I can grab it really fast.
I'll just stay here then. Our April book of the month
is The June Boy.
Woo!
By Court Stevens.
Yes.
We'll be talking about this as we get closer to April. It's still February.
It is March tomorrow, so crazy.
Okay, but currently February.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we have the rest of the day. Thank you, Hermes on the Run. My messy bed is doing a nice job of staying upright.
All right. I think is that everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us for the Wayward Son Booksplosion Book of the Month live show. We'll see you on Dear Booksplosion. We should announce that. Our next Dear Booksplosion live show is happening on Wednesday, March 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Not standard time, because the time changes before then.
Mark your calendars because we'll be giving away 2 tickets to BookCon during that show, and you have to be here if you want to win them.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about our little theme for that Dear Booksplosion show is about like book conventions and book festivals and just sort of like travel, our tips, our advice. We're kind of veterans at this point. We've been to a lot of book conventions for the last 5-6 years. If you have any sort of advice, like if maybe you're going to your first book convention or you just want to like share an experience for a convention or anything, you can email us at emailsareawesome@gmail. Is that it? Emailsareawesome@gmail and send us if you have any questions, you want advice. Yeah, and we'll keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm Kat.
I'm Christine.
I'm Jesse.